Hi, hello. In this video, we are going to discuss about grievous hurt. Under 320 IPC, the grievous hurt has been defined. When and where we receive a individual with multiple wounds on part of examination, we need to label a injury based on the legal classification, whether it belongs to simple, grievous, or a dangerous injury. And here in this video, initial part, we are going to discuss about the definitions of injury, hurt, and followed by dangerous. Uh, and in grievous hurt, each and every clause of it has been explained with a example. And there are some exceptions when and where we don't label an injury as a grievous hurt, has been suitably explained with the examples and image. Let's begin. Number 44. Any harm whatever illegally caused to persons in body, mind, reputation, or property is defined as an injury. And according to 319 IPC, hurt means a bodily pain, a disease, or an infirmity caused to any person. And definition of dangerous weapon, section 324 and 326 IPC. And any instrument for shooting, stabbing, cutting, or any instrument which is used for as a weapon of offense and is likely to cause a death or a fire or any heated substance or otherwise a poison or any corrosive substances or any explosive substances or any substance which is harmful to human body to inhale, swallow, or to receive in a body or by any means of animal. Section 324 and 326 deals about dangerous weapon. And hurt is a hurt of more serious in nature, and it is very difficult to draw a line between those of body hurts which are serious and those of which are slight. And to make out the offense of a voluntarily causing grievous hurt, there must be some specific hurt voluntarily inflicted and coming within the eight kinds of enumerated in this section. There are 8 clauses which has been enumerated in the section 320 IPC. So any injury should fit into these of the 320 IPC. Then the injury can be termed as or labeled as a grievous hurt. And in grievous hurt, first clause is emasculation, second is permanent privation of sight of either eye, third permanent privation of hearing of either ear, fourth privation of any member or a joint, fifth destruction or a permanent impairing of a power of any member or joint, sixth permanent disfiguration of head or face, seventh fracture or dislocation of a bone or a teeth. Eighth clause has 3 subclauses. First subclause of 8th clause is any hurt which endangers the life of a person. Second subclause, which causes a victim to be in severe bodily pain. Third subclause, unable to follow his ordinary pursuits for a period of 20 days. And here all 8 clauses of grievous hurt to be remembered, and even the terminology is need to be same. And 8th clause by repeated reading you can master in 8th clause. The rest other clauses are of single line and easy to remember. And before going to the actual explanation of the IPC, there are some terms which has been described under this IPC itself, so we should know before going to the entire explanation. First and foremost, the word member. Member means any organ or a limb being part of a man that is capable of performing a distinct function. And the example could be any organ like eyes, ears, nose, hand, feet. Those are organs are part of a member where they perform a distinct function, and without which the particular function is not possible. And second such is permanent loss. The word permanent loss doesn't mean that it should be incurable. There will be some remedy or there will be some operative procedure, but permanent loss, it means that it doesn't mean that it is in an incurable state of health. And third is disfiguration or disfigure. In the section, it means to cause some external injury which detracts from the personal appearance. And three things we need to know. And other thing is the permanent loss. It doesn't mean that the state is incurable. And the treatment part again should not be taken into consideration while framing an injury as a grievous hurt. And there are other exceptions, and it can be detailed under each slide and or each section when we discuss about. The first clause, emasculation, where it means that depriving a male of a masculine vigor, and here it means that it is the penetrating power during the intercourse of a male, and here it is a only clause where it applies only to a male individual. And the possible examples could be amputation of a penis, second is injury to a testis, third, fracture of pelvis with an injury to parasympathetic, fourth, fracture spine at level of lumbar 4 and 5 or associated with sacral segments of spinal cord. And here in this clause, it covers both sterility and potency in a male. And here potency means potency cause must be permanent, irrespective of, right? And even before starting the explanation, we use the word there have been a total loss of or the injury should be permanent. It doesn't mean that whether it is a treatable or an untreatable is immaterial, and which has resulted in a temporary state of potency or a total state of disturbance in the potency or sterility. It is considered as a grievous hurt, right? And here the treatment portion is not taken into consideration. And coming to when and where the reasons could not be of an emasculation. Emasculation. First and foremost, when a male retains a penetrating power, X cuts the testes of Y, and Y retains the penetrating power where now only one part of a testis been injured, and male retains, but it doesn't fit into a grievous hurt. According to this section of a grievous hurt, doesn't fit into clause number 1, but fits into clause number 4. And same such a lumbar sacro injury, where it is not enough to cause an injury or to decrease the penetrating power, where it is not a grievous hurt according to clause number 1, but it may be a grievous hurt under clause number 4. And second such is cutting away a permanently flaccid penis, again doesn't fit into this clause. Point number 3, performing a circumcision is not an emasculation, where there is no any compromise in the penetrating power or any feature relating to impotency or sterility. And fourth, performing a clitoridectomy, where again it doesn't fit into a grievous hurt under clause number 1. And this figure shows a part of a shaft of a penis has been damaged, and here it fits into clause 1 of grievous hurt. And the other scenario where if only one testis get damaged or otherwise it has been removed, the other testis is normal functioning with an intact male organ is present, and it is not considered as an emasculation. Still, it could be a grievous hurt under clause number 4, where it deals with privation of any member or on a joint. Main points relating to this clause 1 of grievous hurt, where impotency caused must be permanent, and only male castration comes under this clause. Again, where even in the initial slide we have said that this clause applies only to a male individual and doesn't cover female. And female castration can however be a grievous hurt under clause 8 or clause 4. And here any hurt, again clause 8 is nothing but any hurt which endangers or suffers any person to a space of 20 days in a severe body pain or otherwise unable to follow his ordinary pursuits. And here the castration and impotency uh, of male alone has been taken into consideration, and if a female has been presented with, and it will be covered under clause number 4. Permanent privation of sight of either eye, and here it deprives any person of a use of an organ of sight and also disfigures him, and acts like going out of eyes, poking of eyes with any instrument, sharp penetrating instrument, or any application of a chemical which has resulted in loss of vision, or there been a blurring of vision, or there been a gradual decrease in vision, then this clause applicable. And here again, permanent loss doesn't mean that it should be an incurable condition, right? For example, if somebody has poked a person and which has resulted in corneal abrasion, and where the possible surgery is corneoplasty, where the treatment part should not be taken into consideration, where corneal abrasion on the period of time, the vision of the individual been compromised, and there been a difficulty in seeing the surrounding. That's why it is in a grievous hurt. And loss of sight occurring to a corneal opacity, again due to any traumatic etiology, then again it fits into a grievous hurt. And any injury causing reduction of a vision again fits into grievous hurt, or in some case where an individual has been slapped, or there been a blow on the eye or on part near to the eye, and followed by there been a displacement or a dislocation of an intraocular lens, where again it constitutes a crime, and it means that it has resulted in a hurt. And again, even though it can be cured within a surgery, but surgeries should not be taken into consideration. And again, displacement of IOL intraocular lens constitute a grievous hurt. And what act will not constitute a clause number 2? Here, throwing a chili powder in an eye, and here the reason began on the initial period, the eyes get severely inflamed due to blepharospasm, where a person can't see, and after a treatment within a week, where an inflammation disappears completely, where the person can see perfectly without any compromise over this vision. Here it is not a grievous hurt, but the individual or the offender can be prosecuted as causing a hurt. Hurt again, according to 319 IPC, can be prosecuted. Third clause of grievous hurt, where permanent privation of hearing of either ear, and here it deprives a man from his sense of hearing, right? And if you see this word, right, his, her, right, it applicable to both the sexes, where only the first clause applies to a male individual. Rest other clauses it is applies both to male and female. There is no any differences. And third clause, where a blow over on a head or on a ear which has resulted in an injury over the tympanic membrane, and followed by, or otherwise there been an injury towards an auditory nerves which has resulted in a privation or in a loss of hearing, and again surgery part should not be taken into consideration. Again it fits into a grievous hurt. And here second example, thrusting of any object, either a hard blunt or a sharp penetrating object which has been inserted into, and take this as an example, where a person approached a quack for a treatment, and due to his negligence, and he has injured the tympanic membrane, and followed by that being a privation, and again can be prosecuted. And in methods of torture, where pouring in a hot liquid as a part of a torture, and which has resulted in a compromise over hearing, and there been a total loss of hearing for a period, then again it amounts to grievous hurt, and again punishable. Clause number 4. Privation of any member or a joint. Here again we have seen what is member. Again, just a repetition. Member means any organ or on a limb being part of a man capable of performing a distinct function, and it includes ear, nose, mouth, hand and feet. And what are not members, right? What the exceptional list of members are: a blood, milk, saliva, tear, urine of a person is not considered as a member because they have a capacity to regenerate. Even it has been lost, there is a capacity to regenerate, where an organ of importance or otherwise the organ which performs in a distinct function or being termed as a member. And here it also includes a joint where an individual receives a blow and followed by there being an injury or a part of a joint, and followed by it has gone to a state of permanent stiffness, and there been restriction of movement. The individual can't perform his routine activity, even a movement is not possible, so there has been a loss of function, so it constitutes a grievous injury. And again, clause number 4, it is privation of any member or a joint. And here what are the things which doesn't fits into this clause number 4? Will not fit into a grievous hurt under this clause. Example, where a nail of a person has been trimmed, right? And here again, nail has a capacity or an ability to regrow, so it is not a offense. But if a nail has been avulsed or there has been avulsion of a nail, and the possibility of regrowing is questionable or it is not at all possible, so it is considered as an offense and it is a privation, and it could be an offense under this clause number 4. And cutting a finger or cutting a hand or cutting a feet where there is no possibility to regrow, again it constitutes. And again, these hand, feet, fingers are part of a member, they perform a distinct function and again constitute a offense under clause number 4. Trimming is not offense but avulsion, it is an offense. Cutting a part of a limb or part of a hand, part of a finger constitute a offense under this clause of grievous hurt. And other such like where an other exception, where here on your image on your left top side you can able to see a polydactyly where presence of an extra finger, right? So again, even though it is a non-functional and even again it is an extra finger and it doesn't perform any function, and if there been a cut injury or there been a total amputation of this finger where there is no possibility of regrowing of the finger, if it has been done without a consent, right, during an operation course, it has been removed, then again it is an offense. Or any injury which has resulted in cutting of this extra finger constitute a grievous hurt, even though it is not functional, but where it can't regrow, so it fits into this clause of grievous hurt. And coming to the point towards the medical field, where a surgeon operates or does a laparotomy to an individual for some other reason on near to a completion, where he sees an appendix and it appears to be inflamed, so he asks a subordinate to remove the appendix, right, or to just train his intern or to train his PGs. He just give a chance to remove the organ appendix. And even appendix is a vestigial organ which where on its removal there won't be any compromise to the normal daily routine of a person, where a surgery has been performed, where an appendix has been removed, and in later point of time where the consent has been obtained for some other reason, where removal of appendix, where it has been not clearly it has been not mentioned, and a performing an unwanted surgery without the consent of a patient or without the consent of the relatives, again it constitutes a grievous hurt. Clause number 5, where destruction or permanent impairing of a powers of any member or a joint, and the explanation for member stands the same. And here any act of an amputation or any injury which has resulted due to a burns and followed by the complication of burns, it has resulted in contractures where there been an impairing of the movement of that particular joint or a particular member, again it constitutes a grievous hurt. And the same such applicable when a corrosive have been overthrown and followed by as a complication it has resulted in a contraction where the ordinary course of life, where the usage of limb or a part of a joint is very essential to discharge its normal functions of the body, it has been compromised, and as a complication it has resulted in a contraction and there been a permanent impairing of the movement and or otherwise the power of a joint, and so again it fits into clause number 5 and it is grievous hurt and damaging to a part of a tendon, and again it constitutes a offense under grievous hurt under clause number 5. Clause number 5 is destruction of or permanent impairing of the powers of any member or a joint. Clause number 6, and here permanent disfiguration of a head or a face, and here again any sort of disfiguration, right? Disfiguration in the section again means to cause some external injury which detracts from his personal appearance, right? Again a corrosive throwing of a corrosive or any harmful substance which has resulted in a multiple scar or which is likely to cause a scar, and those constitute an offense under grievous hurt, clause number 6 under this IPC. And here cutting off a man's nose or ear again constitute a offense. Branding a girl's cheek or not only a cheek, any part of a face, a branding or any form of tattooing which has been done without a consent, again constitute a offense. Or any injury which causes a permanent scar or which likely to cause a scar, again it fits into clause number 6 and again it constitutes a grievous hurt, right? A throwing of acid as an act of vitriolage where again constitute an offense under clause number 6. Clause number 6 is permanent disfiguration of head or face. And what other, like for example an individual presented with an abrasion and another individual presented with a laceration on a part of a face, right? Abrasions are superficial two-dimensional injury where they can heal without producing a scar, but a lacerated injury, a three-dimensional injury, always the description towards a lacerated injury, margins irregular, margins confused, tissue tags present, right? So when and where a lacerated injury present, and always it will be healing with the presence of a scar. So individual produce an abrated wound on an individual likely to be saved under this act, under this IPC, sorry. But an individual has insulted and lacerated injury likely to be punished because it is more likely to cause a scar on a part of face, right? So piercing a nose without a consent constitute a offense. Piercing a ear without a consent constitute a offense. Or an injury which has resulted in a deviated nasal septum, right? A punch over or a blow over a part of a nasal bone which has gone for a fracture. Again, it fits into two, where disfiguration being another point of issue and is punishable under clause number 6. And an act of a vitriolage where throwing of acid which has caused a disfiguration of the face again constitute a offense. Clause number 7, right? It deals about fractures or dislocation of a bone or a teeth, right? Here two things have been taken, bone and teeth have been taken into consideration, and again note it is not and bone and tooth, it is bone or tooth, where only a fracture has been present constitute a offense under grievous hurt, or only a broken teeth been present, again it constitute a offense under grievous hurt. Number 7, clause number 7. And here the explanation stands like, if there been any break by a cutting or splintering of a bone, or otherwise a rupture, or if there been a fissuring into part of a bone, constitute a offense, right? And the extent of the cut is just not clearly mentioned under this clause. And dislocation means displacement, and mere looseness of a teeth due to a disease condition or due to an old age will not amount to a dislocation, right? Again, it doesn't fit into a causing a grievous hurt, and then it would be almost a fracture should be present. It is not necessarily a bone to should present within a through and through cut. Instead, there been even a minor displacement, or there been any dislocation or a displacement of a part or a fragment of bone constitute a offense. And even a cut on a bone, right? A sharp object which has pierced the soft tissue and which has produced a cut injury on a part of a bone constitute a offense under this clause of 7th clause of grievous hurt. And even hairline fracture, yes, it is a grievous hurt. Partially united fracture, yes, and a green stick fracture, again there is minimal displacement, even though it constitutes a offense under this clause of grievous hurt. Dislocation of shoulder joint, dislocation of any artificial joint also constitute a offense of grievous hurt. And here name a condition of grievous hurt which is immediately manageable or immediately treatable, and dislocation of shoulder joint has been the one such example and most commonly asked question. Clause number 8. Any hurt which endangers or causes a victim to be in severe body pain for 20 days or enable the victim to follow his ordinary pursuits for a period of 20 days. So here the words used are or between, and these are subclauses of 8th clause of grievous hurt, right? So this is first subclause, second subclause, and third subclause, right? And all the clauses are independent of each other, right? Independent of each other. Any hurt of any one of the clause will constitute a grievous hurt. And first and foremost, any injury which causes endangerment of a life, or injury causes endangering of a life of a person. Any head injury with LOC or without LOC constitute a offense or which constitute endangering of a life of a person. And second is any presence of a compound fracture of a skull bone. Third, burns involving greater than 1/3 of a surface area, body surface area constitute a grievous hurt by this first subclause of 8th clause of grievous hurt. And any stab injury on a part of our abdomen or any part of a vital organ, even it includes chest cavity, any stab injury or otherwise any dangerous injury which endangers the life of a person. And any hurt causes rupture of spleen, squashing of the testicles, again constitute a offense. And incised wound on a part of a neck, a rupture of an internal organ, or any injury which causes an injury over a blood vessel, more likely to endanger the life of a person, and or otherwise which has an 50% chance to end in a fatality, and those injuries constitute a endangering of life, and again those are grievous hurt. And again, in other words, those are of dangerous in nature, and more likely there been only a 50% of chances either for recovery or either for an fatality. More like clause where causes the victim to be in severe body pain for 20 days, right? And highly difficult and very difficult to prove that the injured person was in severe body pain for last 20 days, and instead by seeing this activity performed by an individual, we can able to make sure that there been a difficulty present in the part of a patient, right? And the word is ordinary pursuits. It includes the acts or otherwise a daily routine acts of a person, like eating food, taking bath, going to toilet, buttoning, unbuttoning of shirt, combing of hair. Alright, so it is much more easier to prove that he is unable to follow his ordinary pursuits during last 20 days of hospitalization. And here, mere stay in a hospital doesn't make an injury as a grievous hurt, right? And here, in part of an ordinary pursuit, it doesn't include the job of a person. It doesn't include the job of a person or his financial earning. Those have been not taken into consideration. Only the daily routine activity performed by a person. And in part of next presentation, possibility of a correction of any of above or through any surgery or in a medical management should not be a factor while assessing such injury. And here, the duty of the medical witness is only to describe the facts in the wound certificate as a simple or a grievous injury, and it is purely guiding the investigating officer to work so. And here, point number 3, court has a legal authority to reverse any doctor's interpretation. For example, a doctor has mentioned an injury as a simple injury where court can intervene and can reverse it that as a grievous hurt, and again vice versa. And thank you so much for your patient listening. If there have been any doubt query, either you address through any of the social media links provided or otherwise in the comment section below. Thank you.